So some of the SIMM information that I think is important related to the financial analysis worksheets is this detail in the SIMM 05A, which is the required information technology reports and activities. The project approval life cycle stage gate deliverables, they can be submitted anytime during the year. However, when you are needing a BCP, a budget change proposal, to fund your project or planning, those are required to be submitted at least for a draft by July 15th. And then stage 2, depending on where you are, by July 15th also. So those are important because when you are backing into your dates and when you need funding and when you need your project approvals, your financial analysis worksheet reviews completed, you need to consider these dates that you do need to back into those depending on the timing of your funding. And I realize that at times there's additional times, spring finance letters, there's the May revise, all of those come into play. But if you are looking at being funded, your stage 1 approved documents and then the stage 2 documents must be submitted by July 15th. And that information is for the financial analysis worksheets in SIMM is located in SIMM 19 under SIMM 19F. And if I selected that link, it would take me to that SIMM 19 location. So one of the important excerpts from the stage 4 preparation instructions indicates that there are some budget, if your financial analysis worksheets change to an extent that it is over 20% higher or 5 million, there's some criteria that you need to follow and work with your project approval and oversight manager, or with the Department of Finance, or both, to determine if your project can move forward. So if that were to occur, that could possibly mean that the planning or something occurred that maybe there wasn't appropriate planning, or some costs were omitted, or possibly just the costs have gone up that far. But that would be a conversation that you'd have with your project approval and oversight manager, or with Department of Finance, to determine if the project can move forward. So these are the timing requests for the BCP funding. Again, as we said before, that July 15th. However, if you have planning funding for PAL stages 2, 3, and 4, you need to have an approved stage 1 business analysis. However, we know that most departments now, they're delegated that approval. However, there are some departments that they still go through the CDT approval for those stage 1. So those must be in place to obtain planning funding. And then to obtain project funding, it can be approved or requested in a separate BCP with an approved stage 2, or as long as that is determined to be in the works with the PAO manager and with the Department of Finance. This is an excerpt from the budget letter 1906 that further it indicates that by July 15th, you would have to have your project PAL documents to the CDT. That was in 2019. I don't believe that's changed. I still believe that, each year there is a date that you would be required to have your PAL documents to CDT and approved in order to move forward with a budget action. A new category for planning expenditures for PAL planning expenditures. So that would be for stages 2 through 4. If you have funding, a department would be required to complete a DF 576, and that would be sent to the Department of Finance. The information is here, and you also have that in your attachments so that you could refer and get a little bit more of the detail on what is required. But if you have been approved for planning funding, the Department of Finance added this DF 576 so that they could track the funding, the planning funding used, and the amounts used and when it was used. And this is what it looks like. If you have those planning dollars and you have questions, you can contact your PAO manager or the DOF IT consulting unit. Either one would be able to help you on how to enter this, but this is the actual planning expenditure report, so that you'd be reporting on how much monies and dollars were spent and when you were approved for a BCP that involved planning funds. There is also a cumulative project cost increase of $5 million or 20%. If you have a project that is over, it had an increase of $5 million or 20%. We wanted to make sure that you were aware that there's a DF 12 that may be required. There's additional information that you could refer to in the budget letter, but this is here so that you have a reference and know where to get it. It also is included in the attachments provided. If you did have questions regarding a project expenditure increase of 20% or $5 million, you could again contact your PAO manager or DOF IT consulting ITQ. So one thing that has recently come out in the last couple years is a reiteration that budget information and budget decisions are confidential until after the governor's budget has been released. So it's something that is important that we know that when we're doing the financial analysis worksheets that relate to a BCP, it may be that those documents are confidential and should not be shared outside of your department and those who need to know, because they are it is confidential information and it is not to be broadcast if it's approved, not approved, and so on and so forth. Again, even if a proposal is disapproved or unapproved or draft BCPs are changed, they do remain confidential indefinitely and may not be released. So I think it is important for us to remember that when we're working on our financial analysis worksheets that oftentimes tie to a BCP, to keep in mind that those documents, because of their inference to a BCP, would remain confidential.